Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Just Chat with Uncle Dominic. Today we have a very special topic and a very special guest. Our topic today is self-worth and knowing that you matter. And with us today we have Donna Campbell from donnacampbell.com. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here with you and chatting with Uncle Dominic. It's an honor.
Yes, thank you for you showing up so early in the morning. I know it's 6:30 your time in the morning, so it's really early for you.
Yep, a little bit earlier than normal, but it's all good. I'm just happy to be here. So,
That's great. There's actually a saying that said the early bird gets the worm, right? So
right?
so if we rise up
Like,
early, we can get lots of good things today. So I'm excited.
especially as the sun rises.
Okay. So our quote that I wanna talk about today is the first quote that I was gonna say is this. I'm putting up on the screen right now, so you won't be able to see it. So I'll read it out to you. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Okay? So your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. So let's use that as a quote to start us off in our
Mhm.
discussion today. So what do you
Yes,
think about that?
I think it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Because your value doesn't decrease based on other people's opinion. Because the fact that you are even here says that you matter, that you're enough, that you're worthy, and that you are here for a reason and a purpose. And that's inside of you, not outside of you. And other people's thoughts, ideas, and opinions are outside of you. So, having a good, strong sense of self worth and knowing your own value of who you are and what you're meant to do, that's priceless.
I like the idea of that, but sometimes, for example, I'll give an example. Like a few years back, I had this moment in my life where I felt like there's no value in what I do, and so
Mhm.
what would you say to people like that?
Well, what I would actually do is ask a couple of questions. I would want to know what it felt like that there was no value in what you did. And then I would trace it back to an event where you originally felt that, because that's where the subconscious got stuck in producing a feeling or emotion, like an automated response system. That
Mm-hmm.
would be a theme or a pattern in your life. And you can always shift and change how you feel from that lower vibrating emotion and feeling to a higher vibrating emotion and feeling. And that is the whole scope of the work that I do today. So it's not that you don't provide value, it was got somehow associated with a event to
Mm-hmm.
where you have a feeling or a low vibration, a low emotion to it, and it just kept reproducing throughout your life. And it's all changeable.
It I like that one you say it's all changeable, right? Because
Yes.
I feel like most of the times when we hit the low point of our life, we
Mhm,
tend to feel like there's no way to go, and what do I
mhm.
do? And then we try to seek approval or seek someone else to help us to understand our self worth, and then when we do that, sometimes we tend to pick the wrong person, and that person will be like, "Yeah, you're
Right.
worthless" or whatever in a joking manner, but
Right.
to us it feels like it's real.
Mhm. Yes, and you gotta remember when you ask or seek the opinion of somebody else, it also goes through all of their filters and everything in their paradigm from their point of view. And if you were to ask person number 2, it goes through their filters, their point of view, but they're gonna have a different perspective because their interaction with you is different than person A. So it's like when an accident happens on the road and there's 4 witnesses, but each witness has a different point of view and perspective. So which one's right? Well, all of them, because it goes through those filters. But all of those things are outside of you. The only one that really matters is how you think, feel, and believe about yourself on the inside.
Yeah, so it's all coming back to us, right? So we have to
Yes.
actually push ourselves to actually believe that we matter in sometimes, right? So when we feel that, I guess we will rise up because I'm not gonna say that I have risen up from my low point in life, but I would say that I have gained quite a bit of momentum to go up. But I still feel
Mhm.
like sometimes, you know, things in life, daily struggles in life. Like right now, we have the COVID-19, the pandemic. It's affecting a lot of people, and in
Yeah.
Taiwan as well, where I am. I'm not
Mhm.
sure about where you are. Is it affecting a lot of
Mhm.
people in where you are at?
I live in Montana,
Okay.
and we don't have a huge population base here. Each state in the United States is a little bit different to how it is affected because we have how each of our governors rule the state. In Montana, it was very low key. There wasn't a lot, but when I traveled to California, when I went to Florida
Mm-hmm.
and other places, it was a little bit more intense with it.
Yeah. So like with those external stuff that's
Hmm.
happening, like I keep telling myself as well, like I shouldn't focus on those external stuff. Like it's more on me and what I
Yeah.
should do to move on. And which is one of the reasons why I started this show, Just Chat with Uncle Dominic, is because I have these problems in me, and I want to, share it out and figure out ways to, move on. And I know that there are people out there who are doing it the same, but they do not have an output to share their experiences. And I'm hoping that with this channel that I'm using, this platform, that I'll be
Mhm.
able to share my experiences and even get experiences from you or tips and advices that can help our viewers or everyone out there to find, that great opinion that I needed when I really needed at that time.
Mhm.
So Donna,
Yeah.
you mentioned to me before that you were a mind whisperer. So
Yes.
I kind of understand that, but I do do want you to explain to me what does it mean to be a mind whisperer? Is it because of your soothing voice, like, uh, you know?
That could be part of it. But just like we've heard of dog whisperers and horse whisperers, where people can work with the animals to change the behavior of the animal for
Right.
whatever is going on. I do the same thing, but for people, and I work on people's minds. So what happens is your subconscious records everything as an event from the moment you're born to the day you exit this earth. And it's constantly assigning those feelings and emotions to those events. Now the problem is our awareness of those emotions and feelings attaching to the events is our awareness is only 10%.
Hmm.
Scientists measured Albert Einstein's brain and that was his conscious awareness level. So 90% of the time, we don't know what we're feeling that's getting associated with a particular event.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the subconscious creates an automated response system. I call it a mind loop tape that repeats that pattern because it gives us an operating system to live by. Well, sometimes we get stuck in our operating system in energies of stress,
Right.
frustration, depression, anxiety, anger. And what I have the ability to do is to work with the client on an energetic level, find the emotion and feeling, trace it back to the original event, and then we can change the feeling where it got stuck at to create a different automated response system. So most of us, we don't need frustration or anger when we are, in our life. We want to have happiness, prosperity, love, and joy. And so when you shift that vibrational frequency with someone, then their new pattern becomes prosperous, abundance,
Mm-hmm.
love, happiness, all of those things. And it creates a new pattern. So the events in the people's lives don't change, but how they felt, that perspective, that point of view shifted. Just like your example of, I don't feel like I have value in what I do, we can go back to find what that felt like and to the original event, change it so then you can keep doing what you have been doing, knowing that you always have value and what value really truly feels like.
I like that. So I feel like what you're doing is you kind of like helping me to pinpoint the
Yes.
problem that I have, which I probably overlooked, and guide me
Mhm.
back to that position where I can understand. So could I call you a GPS? A GPS to self healing? Would that be
Yeah,
okay?
that works. That totally works because it's always going back to, the event to see what happened and to make that change. And the event might not be associated with what you're going through today, but it's the original point where it got started. But it's always restoring you back to completeness, wholeness, fulfillment, worthiness, being valued, appreciated, loved. It's always returning you back to that state of being.
I really like that actually. I really like that a lot. I feel like sometimes in life, think like I keep saying external stuff, but it's true. Like these things happen, and we know that it's hurting us, and when we try to think about it, I guess like you said, like a self mechanism that for us that we kind of move past it and don't even look at it, and then after a later stage in time where we actually, I guess the word I would use, calm down and actually try to look back
Hmm.
and to find the I guess the problem, the source of the problem. But most of the time, I guess as humans, like as people, people that I know, we tend to like okay, this happens. Okay, what's next? Okay, and
Hmm.
then more external things happen again. Oh, it's happening again. What do I do now? Oh, again and again, and then eventually becomes very frustrated. For
Hmm.
example, like I would say a mother's life, where if she's already frustrated with her husband, for example, and then she's frustrated with her kids, and then when one after another keep piling up,
Yes.
when will she get the time to actually calm down and pinpoint her problem? Because
Right.
sometimes they go, oh, I'm so tired, and then I'm gonna go to bed, and then the next day it piles up again.
Hmm.
So in this case, what would you say? How can you
Hmm.
help people like that?
Right. So because there's not the time factor to sit down and actually look at it because they're frustrated, and by the time they have time to do it, you're so exhausted and tired you can't focus your mind. So then that's when you would use somebody like me, where I can come in, spend an hour maybe with you. You don't have to do the work, I'm doing it with you. And by asking the key questions, it goes back to pinpointing exactly when it started, how, why, what we're learning from it. And we can make those shifts and changes there. And then you'll create a different outcome. And tomorrow or the next day and the next day, it's going to be continually different.
Hmm.
And it works in all areas of life, whether it's a health issue. Anything that was created in the body can be discreated and recreated differently. It can be on a wealth topic. People are always asking about prosperity and abundance, or something in a relationship, whether it's a relationship or a lifestyle with yourself, with your family, with your children, because the process is always the same. And those are the same, those are the three main categories that everything tends to fall into within our life. And when you make a shift and change in one area, the other areas also shift and change too, because that's how the magic of the universe works.
I just want to clarify earlier because I mentioned a mother, but this could be a
Mhm.
situation for a husband
Any
as well, a father as
Yeah.
well. I mean, for me, I'm stressed out at work, and when I go home, how do I de-stress? And if it keeps
Mhm.
piling up, and what do I do? I guess I should be calling you, Donna, and for spend
Only
an
take
hour and have a
Yes.
discussion and see how things worked out. But what about young people? Like, for example,
Mhm.
right, young people out there right now, there are a lot of them who know they have this problem, but they are afraid to seek people
Mhm.
like you for help, or they're like we said, like I said earlier, finding their friends for opinion, and like you said, they
Mhm.
have different filters, so it's gonna be like different kind of truth in it, and so
Mhm.
some of them will be misguided, and what do we do? So I mentioned this on my previous show, yesterday's show, where about uh, in because I live in Taiwan and I'm a
Mhm.
educator, I'm a teacher, right? And so
Yeah.
I've seen many instances where high school students, they gave up on everything. They feel like that's it. I need to end my life. And so they did it. And because when they did it, the instance that I felt is they felt that there is no self worth in them and it's
Right.
zero. So I'm just going to end everything. So, what
Right.
can you say to young people out there who are seeking help but are afraid to do so?
hmm Two things. First, understand the fear because there's different types of fear. There's rational fear and irrational fear. Irrational fear triggers our immune system and our adrenals. It takes us into fight or flight. So if there's danger, we can get out of harm's way. So if a building is on fire, we know to leave because we're in that fear state. And that's a proper use of fear. What we want to look at is the irrational fears of the not enough, I'm not worthy, less than
Mm,
type fear,
mm,
because those are part of that mind loop tape. Fear is saying in the moment, there's an absence of love here, and I don't know where to find it in those types of situations. And so it's understanding the fear, where the fear is coming from, and where did that absence of love develop from. So if you don't feel like you're worthy or that you're less than or you're not enough, you don't matter, you do. We're just looking at it from the opposite point of view. So if you would stop yourself and take a look at where is the love, so I do know that I matter, we can start making that shift and change. The second thing that I'm going to say to that is a lot of times we measure ourselves based on what we believe is success and failure. However, my success might be somebody else's failure, and
mm.
somebody else's failure could be my success. So that's all based on point of view and perspective, and it's going to be different for every single person. So I have a quote that I have, it's even on my website, that says there's no success or failure in life. There's only, I used to say there's experience. And by experience, I meant if you liked it, keep doing it. If you didn't like it, change it and do something different. But it's not only just about the experience anymore, it's about finding the gift that the experience brought you through what you perceived as a success or a failure. So even if it was what you saw as a failure, there is a gift in that. Something good, something positive came from it. It might have been you tried again, you did it differently, you got more information. And even from the successes, there's still gifts in those successes. And if you think about some of our great scientists, if they did something one time and it didn't work out, if they gave up, we might not have electricity.
That is
But
true.
they kept doing it over and over and over again to that state of perfection because there was a gift in what they were going to be giving us and they knew it. They always knew how to find the gift. So find the gifts in your life would be the second thing I would share.
Finding the gifts, right? I actually like to say that to my kids as well. I keep telling my
Yeah.
older son, you need to find out your purpose. What do you want? And then once you
Mhm.
find out, if I'm still alive, I will try to help you find or accomplish what you can, in the future. I wish I had a chance from my parents to do so, but there was not much chances there. So I'm hoping my kids will actually figure it out. I mean, my oldest son is 14 years old right now, and so he's still like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, figure it out. And it's like, come
Right.
on, I'm still here. I can help you, you know?
Yes.
And so, yeah. And, and
Yeah. Have him write down a list of things that he loves and things that he would like to try.
right now it's just video games and then video games
Yeah.
and video games. I'm
That
like,
sounds
oh
about
my
right.
gosh. And well, we had his birthday. And so, and he got a book from his uncle. I'm like, yes. And then he started reading it. I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. There it is. Read more books. And I'm telling, okay, I'm going to buy the second book, whatever that is, and then maybe you'll read it. And I was like, yeah. And so
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, he's doing so. He's reading his second book right now. So I'm kind of excited that he's finding something else besides video games. And so that's why
Yeah.
I feel like teenagers right now, that's what they're focused on. And
Yeah.
before the pandemic happened, when I was in school, like in high school, right? So my students tend to put up their books in front, and then looked at me. But they're not actually looking at me. They're looking at their cell phones behind the books, and they're playing
Oh my
games.
goodness.
And I obviously knew it, and so there are times where I like, okay, they need a break, so I'll let them have a break. They can play their
Mhm.
games while I'm teaching, but not the whole class. I would like, okay, are you done? And they were like, what, you know? So, I mean, young kids out there right now, their focus it's not on their life. I guess they're just focusing on
Mhm.
games, and I, there is good in games. I'm not saying there's bad in games, but I feel
Right.
like when they focus on that, their self worth is not
Mhm.
there anymore. They're just okay.
Yes.
If I take away the games, what do you have? Nothing. So I give up. Like the other
Mhm.
day when my son actually got angry when the mom took away his cell phone or something, and then he's like, why? I'm like, oh my gosh, you see, it gets to a stage where people do not know their self-worth and ended up becoming, they know it's there but they just don't look at it, and it just there's no pulse in their life, and things like that
Mhm.
happen, and I see
Yes.
that. So I don't know what I can do as a parent. Most of the
Uh-huh.
time I try to sit them down and guide them somehow,
Uh-huh.
but I do know kids do not like to listen to parents most of the time. So
Right, right. I have my daughter's still at home. My son has grown and he's moved out, but they're both doing online school. And because of that, they are on the computer. And this is something that I do hear from time to time, even from clients that,
right.
well, my child's supposed to be doing schoolwork. I can't monitor them 100% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not doing it. They're playing games. Well, my daughter, my youngest, is going to be starting fifth grade. And we went online for her to be in fourth grade, but we sat down, we figured out the rules, what she needed to do, her time frame, and then I allowed her to be empowered. So she's allowed to get up when she wakes up. I don't have a certain time, but she knows that within the first hour, she has to do at least 2 hours of schoolwork. And
Hmm.
then she gets an hour break, and then she gets to do another 2 hours of schoolwork because we added up what it would be for her to go to public school and the amount of time and learning that it would take. And we knew that it was 4 hours a day. But if she knows that if she needs to take a break a little bit sooner, she can. If she needs to use the bathroom or get something to eat, she can. If she wants a shorter break and start sooner because she wants to go do something later in the day, she can. So I let her time manage her own schedule. I do check in with her. Usually she's in the next room and making sure that she's on track. And I can look at her progress every day if I choose. But in the in between times when she takes her breaks, yeah, she is playing those games and she is doing different things and watching videos and
Hmm.
listening to music and all of that because that's that age. She's going to be turning 11 soon. But I don't, but when she's doing schoolwork, those things are not a part of it because I set it up in the beginning that this is the expectation.
Hmm.
Now, when there's a weekend and there's not school, it's a little bit different. Um, but I find ways to empower. I don't tell them no because when you tell somebody no, that's the very first thing they're going to do. So
I
you
think that's an
ask,
Asian thing as well. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop you.
yeah,
It's like Asian culture. Like parents tend to say no, don't do it,
yeah,
instead of let me help you. I teach you the right way, but they're like no, that's wrong, and so it's
yeah.
instant.
I
Yeah.
have questions. So I don't tell my children no. And even when they ask me a question, it's like, well, that's pretty curious. What would be the benefit of you doing that? Or
Mm.
what do you gain? Or how would it feel if? So I usually ask questions and enough questions that they make their own determination of what it is for them, usually in alignment with what I want. Very rarely does it not, but it gets them thinking through for critical thinking skills when you ask questions instead of just give a final answer. And that's what I've done with them the entire life that with my kids, in doing that with them.
I really like that. You mentioned quite a couple of times the word empowering, right? You
Yeah.
empower them to do stuff. Um,
Mhm.
find it kind of hard in this culture. Like I'm living in Taiwan right now with the Chinese culture, right? Where empowering is kind of like I'm giving you freedom to do whatever you want, and most of the time parents will see like, yeah, like you said, you keep track on them, but then they're playing games or watching videos. I feel like, and Chinese parents, right, will be like, no, that's terrible, take it away, and they and
Mhm.
enforce it instead of
Right.
empowering. So I feel like
Right.
that's a different culture, and it's hard to change the, the culture there. But then I'm giving myself an excuse that this is happening. So I
Right.
try to tell myself as well, if I'm having problem with myself, I don't understand myself well, but in front of my kids, I need to at least, give them choices, to
Yep.
understand what they've done is wrong. And but for me, in the one way, I will actually tell them as well what you have done is wrong, and there is better ways to do it. But then it also depends on how good and I am I in controlling my anger sometimes, right? And so
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is a quote here that I want to put it out there and to keep our
Uh,
conversation going. This is I've been looking at this for a long time. I was trying to find the right words to use this quote, and I actually see this a couple of times. So I'm just gonna say it out here. It says, "To love yourself right now, just as you are, is to give yourself heaven. Don't wait until you die. If you wait, you die now. Oh, sorry. If you wait, you die now. If you love, you live now." And
mhm.
so, one more time, to love yourself right now, just as you are, is to give yourself heaven. Don't wait until you die. If you wait, you die now. If you love, you live now. So, I'm thinking this into more like self acceptance and understanding
Yes.
yourself.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think about this?
I also agree with that quote because love is part of our divine essence, and it's in every cell of our body, and it's in everything around us. And I believe that to be the omnipotent, omnipresent energy in all things. And when you move forward in that frequency, in that vibration, you are moving forward in a perfect divine essence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the magical spot where everything is euphoric. It just flows, it's freedom. Anything less than that and those higher vibrating states, you are literally killing a part of yourself off. So when we even look at physical level dis-ease, what it is emotion that we've had that's been repetitive, that is not healthy for us,
Mm.
that eventually goes down into the density of our body and creates that dis-ease. When I Before I got onto this track of being a healer, I had been in the financial services world and I started trading my health for that job. What I didn't know was that I was consuming anger throughout my job, my
Mm.
marriage, other things, and I was digesting that. So for 2 years, I couldn't digest food, and doctors couldn't figure out why. And when I went back to Chinese medicine and found a natural healer, I learned I couldn't digest food. So there was something on my outside world I couldn't digest because I couldn't digest things on the inside. And that was when I found out and realized I was digesting anger. And anger
Mm.
destroyed my entire digestive system. When all of my life changes happened and I was happy, truly happy for the first time, 40 pounds fell off of my body. My digestion, I was able to digest food again. And all the good things started happening again because I was happy and I had love instead of the stress and the anger. So, yes, that quote, totally right. At the higher vibration you're in, the love, the joy, the peace, the better your life is going to be. And in those lower emotions, the stress, the worry, the pressure, it chips away at your self worth. It
Mm.
chips away at knowing that you're enough. And you don't live in that state because you're miserable. So I agree with it.
Yeah, sitting here right now and looking at you on the screen, obviously, but
Uh huh.
I'm seeing you happy. Like I don't see the
Yeah.
struggle that you had before, and so I'm like, yeah, this is a happy woman, and like, she's doing well, in your life. I'm like, okay, but I'm not looking at what happens before. I'm looking at you right now, and so I'm
Correct.
really curious about what makes the change in you. And then you just mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You found
Hmm.
it. Yeah, you are able to find the problem. You pinpoint it.
I
I like
did.
that. Yeah.
And what I did during that time, because My health went, my relationship was gone, and I also was financially devastated, all within a 4 to 5 year time period. I moved to an ashram, which is a spiritual living community, to understand me, the mind body connection. I was studying meditation, brainwave pattern science, and physics, all the things we've been talking about today, to uncover what it was about me that needed to shift and change. And that's where I started studying with a lot of other different natural healers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made not only could I do this for myself, but to have the ability to help other people create the same instantaneous change, which is why I got coined the name the Mind Whisperer.
Right. I like that. I feel like there's something I could take from that. It's like I think we all need to take a step back and observe certain things. Like maybe go for a retreat, like what kind of like what you did, like get away from the hectic in life that we're having, and then take a step back and look at it. But I keep saying but too much. But for students, right? For students, how can they take a step back and look at things like this? Because they
Mhm.
have to keep moving, right? And so for
Right.
adults, I can like, yes, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna, relax and observe my life, meditate, and but for
Uh,
kids, how can they do that?
yeah. It doesn't have to take very long to do it. The first step is having that awareness that something needs to change. So, anytime you feel angry or stressed or worried or under pressure or depressed, stop yourself.
Right.
Set a timer on your phone for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then all you have to do is take several deep breaths. If you're in an anxiety or depression and you don't want to be in that state, what is the opposite emotion or what state do you want to be in? So maybe it's happiness and joy. So, what you would just do with the timer on your phone is every time you breathe in, you're breathing in oxygen. So, we're going to breathe in the good things. So, breathe in the happiness and joy. And when we breathe out carbon dioxide, all the toxins and things our body doesn't need. So, when you breathe out, you're going to breathe out depression or anxiety. So, it's happiness and joy, depression and anxiety. And what you do is every time you breathe in, you think the positive word, happiness. And when you breathe out the negative word or the word you don't want, depression. And you do that continually for those 2 or 3 minutes. What happens in that state is when you're doing that, you're focusing the mind and giving it a task to do. It puts you into that meditative state very quickly. It's in a meditative state, it's only changing your brainwave pattern from a beta brainwave to a theta brainwave.
Mm-hmm.
And then it relaxes the entire body. And then you can look at the situation at hand. It's going to give you more focus, it's going to give you more clarity. You're going to finish your schoolwork faster, or maybe your job a little bit differently, or in a higher state of being. Everything just starts flowing a little bit more in your life. And what I honestly would do is not just wait until you felt those lower emotions. I would set a timer or an alarm on my phone and just automatically do that exercise every 2 to 3 hours for 2 to 3 minutes. And if you did that at the end of one day, at the end of 2 days, your life is going to be completely different. So when you think about, I need to sit down and observe my life and do all this meditation,
Mm.
that part will happen naturally by focusing the brain.
So I guess we just have to make it a habit in some ways, right? And
Yes.
small steps at a time. I really like the small steps at a time. If we do small steps, the breathing technique thing. Wow. I'm
Yeah.
actually like, yeah, that's actually pretty useful. I think I'm just gonna start doing it. Like, take a moment of my time, maybe a minute or so, and just like breathing in,
Hmm.
breathing out, and let it, pace things out. I think that's actually very useful, uh, especially for for students out there, like taking their
Hmm.
exams or whatever. Like take a deep breath, and then everything will calm down, and then they're able to go through their task. I like that. I like that.
Yes.
Thank you a lot, Donna Campbell, for coming to today's show to just chat with me. I think we have learned a lot, and we covered a lot of topic. But is
Mhm.
there anything else you'd like to share to the viewers out there?
I'm going to share a mantra that I wrote that I use today. But when I
Okay.
first had this, it was during all the difficult times in my life. And this is something that I said and something that I repeated all the time for me to know that, yes, you have worth. Yes, you have value. Yes, you matter. And it is trust and you will see, believe and you will know, have faith, all is well. Follow your heart and spirit will lead you.
Very nice. Can you repeat that again one more time?
Yes, trust
Trust.
and you will see, believe and you will know, have faith, all is well. Follow your heart and spirit will lead you.
Thank you so much, Donna. I think we should just live on that as on a great note. I think that is amazing. Thank you again for coming to the show. Hopefully
And
one
thank you.
day we get to connect again.
Yes, that would be amazing. That would be fun.
All right, thank you. Well, everyone
Thank
out
you.
there, thank you for coming to the show today. If you have questions or anything, you can, email me, ask me on Twitch, or go to Facebook or YouTube. Again, Donna Campbell from donnacampbell.com. You can, if you have problems and you need help, try to find, more self worth in your life, more things that matters to you to make us all, get up there. So we learn so many things now. So let's do it, guys. All right, thank you. I want to say goodbye again to everybody. Yeah, goodbye.